Namaste. Good morning. So, some of you are part of our Yoga Shraddha group. Some of you are new to this group. So, welcome you all. So, this is a book discussion session. So, um, the last time we met for a book discussion session was for this book, Bad Therapy by Abigail Schreier. Um, It was an interesting book. We discussed many relevant points from that. I think it's almost a year back, more than a year back, I guess. So we are again meeting after a long gap for a book discussion. So the book that we are going to be discussing today is The Power of Unwavering Focus by Dandapani ji. So what we will be discussing today is only about 30% of the book. So what I would suggest is if you find that these takeaways that we are discussing today are interesting, relevant for you, do pick up the book later and take the time to read it because it is so important in today's times where we are all struggling with focusing and being attentive to one particular task. Let me share my screen. Okay, so going forward, I do plan to have a lot more discussions on books that I'm reading. So if you are interested to be part of our community, do write to me at this email ID, yogashraddha2024@gmail.com. Okay. So this book is divided into 4 sections, and each of these sections have a certain number of chapters. The first one is called A Life of Purpose and Joy. That is the introduction section where the author takes the time to set the context. So, what I found is that if um, uh, we have come to a point where if what is being revealed or what is being told in a book or in a movie or in a series, if that doesn't set the context very quickly, we get very impatient. Um, Similarly, we can find in this book, the author takes the time. So it is again a test of our patience. It is again a test of um, how much we are able to focus and proceed through to the next section. The second section is called as the ineffable mind. It consists of 3 chapters, and the third is the wings of the mind, which is again consisting of another 3 chapters. So these 2 sections, ineffable mind and wings of the mind, these form the crux of the book. So in the first 2 chapters, the author takes time to establish the context, why it is important to learn about this topic. So you will have to wait till he gets into the crux. And the other aspect which I often highlight is good books need excellent fonts. So I purchased this book in 2020, March 2023. So I usually write when I purchased and from where I purchased the book so that I can remember even at a later date. So I bought this book because I know this is a very useful book, but I couldn't get myself to read it because of the tiny font. So definitely such books need better fonts. Another point is that if you are buying a book and you feel like you have not read it, don't have that guilt feeling because a book arrives when you are ready for it. So even if it is lying in a bookshelf, maintain it properly. uh, but suddenly one day you will choose to pick it up. So once I started reading these first two chapters, and then I moved into this ineffable mind section, it felt like I was completely hooked onto it. Um, we will talk about some of those wow moments, aha moments from this book. Um, and towards the end, in the Panacea for the Mind, um, it is more about application of this knowledge. And many tools and tips are given to practice these principles. So, this is the overall structure of the book. And as I said, we will be discussing only around 30% of the book today. About the author, Dandapani ji, he was a ordained Hindu monk um, in the US for about a decade. He was learning under a guru on Hindu philosophy. And then, after a decade of practicing, being a practicing monk, he then returned back to being a householder. Um, his website has a lot more details on what he is doing. And this particular, he's also doing multiple courses, I believe, which I have not yet explored. So this book, he has picked up this topic of focus, and he has distilled all those teachings from our various scriptures. He has not mentioned any of those scriptures. He has not mentioned any of the technical terms, but the essence of it he has taken and he has explained it in the form of improving our focus. So he uses both the terms focus and concentration interchangeably. So both mean the same. Focus and concentration both mean the same. So the way I have structured this particular session, there are going to be 12 key takeaways that I want to highlight. And because this is a Zoom free session, we might have to drop out around 7:40. When we drop out, we will again come back in 5 minutes. Let's proceed to discussing these 12 key takeaways. First and foremost, he starts this in the very first chapter. Purpose defines our priorities, and priorities determine our lifestyle. So this is something that we all understand, that our lifestyle, it stems from our priorities. Lifestyle, we don't have to think about the external aspects of lifestyle. Like lifestyle here, it refers to how we plan our life, how we conduct our life, what are the things that we give importance to. So personally for me, books are something that I cherish, I adore. So I'm surrounded by books all the time. So as you can see, that is a learning is a purpose. So reading is a priority, and my lifestyle is centered around reading books, writing about it, talking about it. So purpose leads to priorities, and priorities lead to lifestyle. And the author, he brings up a very valid point that happiness is a byproduct. So when we lead a lifestyle that is aligned with our purpose and priorities, then happiness is a byproduct. It is a consequence. It is not necessarily something that we have to pursue, that, okay, I am going to pursue happiness. No. If we pursue a lifestyle that is in alignment with purpose and priorities, then happiness becomes a byproduct. And if we need to lead a life of purpose and priorities, focus is a essential prerequisite. So that is how he sets the context. So this is the first takeaway. The second, he highlights how ability to focus, how it is a greatest asset for all of us. Without focus, any goals we pursue. So in our scriptures, we talk about purusharthas, the four goals of human life. whatever kind of goal we have in any of these categories, focus is absolutely essential. Without focus, we are just diluting our efforts. We might spend some time doing this, doing that, and our effort gets completely diluted, and we are not able to achieve what we really want. So, in this context, he brings out two types of life. One is called a focused life, and the other is called a purpose driven life. What is a focused life? A focused life is whatever you do, you give your complete undivided attention. When you are making a cup of coffee, when you're watering your plants in the garden, when you're talking to your family members, whatever be the activity that you do, you give your complete attention, undivided attention. You are fully present in those experiences. Then your life will feel rewarding. This is called as a focused life. Whereas in the case of a purpose driven life, who we give attention to, what we give attention to, these are intentionally chosen. So we spoke about purpose and priorities. So purpose and priorities are intentionally chosen, and that is how we lead a purpose driven life. So this is a small distinction that we need to keep in mind. A focused life is where we are completely giving attention, doesn't matter whatever we are doing. But a purpose driven life is where we intentionally choose the who and the what. He then goes on to talk about three-story mind. This was just fabulous. This is one of the aha moments for me. So he talks about three floors. Our minds exist at three floors, three levels. So in the ground floor, in the first level, ground floor is the conscious mind. So now you are listening to this session. So you are hearing my voice, you are seeing the visuals. So all these sensory inputs are going in. You are consciously present in this discussion. So this is the conscious mind in action. It is responsible for our basic instincts, impulsive thoughts, all the perceptions that we gather from the outside world. So this is the conscious mind. The second floor, or you can say, okay, ground floor and then the first floor. First floor is the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, here he says it is the intellectual mind. He also says it stores our habitual patterns, impressions that we have gathered, the impulsive, not the impulsive reactions, but more about reactions that we are doing on autopilot. So this is called as the subconscious mind, which is at the first floor. So ground floor, conscious mind, first floor, subconscious mind. And then in the second floor, there is the superconscious mind. Superconscious mind is where we are given access to intuition, a source of super intelligence, where we get these ideas as though the ideas flow to us without much conscious effort from our side. So this is the superconscious mind. So two aspects that are important. If we need to get access to these intuitions, to these subtle experiences, then these impressions, these intuitive experiences, intuitive thoughts, they need to pass through the subconscious mind for us to be able to perceive at the conscious mind level. So from second floor, we have to come to first floor, and then only we can get to the ground floor. So from the superconscious, it has to go through the subconscious to reach our awareness, to reach our conscious mind. This is one direction. Second is, if we need to have any sort of impressions or thoughts in the subconscious, it has to go through the conscious mind. So from the conscious mind, these experiences that we gather, whatever we see, hear, everything that goes into the subconscious and makes an impression. So if we want to program the subconscious, whatever impressions that are going from the conscious, that is something that we need to be mindful about. So this three-story mind, if you compare it with our yoga shastras, the subconscious mind is what is called as chitta, where all the impressions, where all our thought patterns are available. So the basic definition of yoga as given in Patanjali Yoga Sutras is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So how do we control the fluctuations of the chitta? Here, if you are mapping that, it is the subconscious mind. So the second key takeaway for us is we need to be more conscious of what we impress our subconscious with. So to impress something upon the subconscious, it has to flow through the conscious mind. So when we are surrounded with a lot of information, this information overload, it causes so many agitations, so many fluctuations in the subconscious mind, which leads to various consequences: overthinking, anxiety, worry, confusion, decision paralysis, stress, and so on. We consume information, but we are not allowing ourselves to digest the information properly. So this cluttered subconscious, it obstructs intuition coming from the superconscious mind. So what we can do is try to reduce the number of impressions that come into the subconscious level. If the subconscious is clear, if it doesn't have a lot of fluctuations, not a lot of turbulence, then we will be having access to the intuitive power that is coming from the superconscious. This is something that many of us don't have access to today. Earlier, when many scientists were able to discover newer ideas, novel concepts, it is because their subconscious was so clear that they were able to get these thoughts from the superconscious. So this is a powerful motivation for us to work on clearing the clutter in our subconscious mind. So we will talk about how we could go about doing this in the subsequent points. So this is the second key takeaway. The third takeaway is why we need to pursue a focused life. So the author talks about three motivations. All of us have these three motivations. If we think about it deeply, we will automatically pursue a focused life. First and foremost, happiness. So we discussed about how having clarity of purpose will help us identify our priorities. And when we spend our time, when we invest our time in these priorities, we automatically feel happy, we feel joyous. And he says that giving undivided attention to all the people, when we say purpose, priorities, people also come within those priorities, isn't it? So people, experiences, all these are something that are consciously chosen from our purpose. So by giving undivided attention, we automatically experience happiness. The second motivation is manifestation of goals. Here he briefly talks about this concept of energy, which he again revisits in subsequent sections in much more detail. Where we invest our energy, that is where our life will manifest. We can invest our energy in any goal or in any stream of thought, positive or negative. That will determine, that will manifest the life that we have chosen indirectly because we have put our energy in that. So when we are focused, we will ensure that our energy is directed in purposeful ways. And then we will be able to manifest the life that we desire. So, this is the second motivation on why we need to pursue a focused life. The third, this is most important, I felt, death. The fact that we all have a end date. That in itself should be a powerful motivation for us to leave out all the distractions and pursue a focused life. In this, he brings a slightly new perspective. We always say, oh, life is short, life is short. He says, no, life is not short, it is finite. It is finite. There is an end date. And just this awareness that life is finite, that in itself will help us to sharpen our priorities. The fact that death is inevitable, that will help us to live an intentional life. We will not be mindlessly wasting our time in frivolous pursuits. So, recognizing life's finiteness, that becomes the greatest impetus for living a focused life. So, it could be any of these three. So, personally, for me, this factor about death, that is a powerful motivation for pursuing a focused life. So, you can, when you read this book, among these three motivating factors, there might be one or two which will echo so strongly with your worldviews. The fourth, here he talks about the law of practice. Whatever we practice, we inevitably become good at. If you practice concentration, you become good at concentration. If you practice distraction, you become good at distraction. And he says, practice, repetition. This is a very powerful way to program our subconscious. So, habitual patterns, be it good habitual patterns or bad habitual patterns, it is possible because of constant repetition. We repeatedly do. So it becomes part of our nature. And we become proficient in whatever we repeatedly do, even if it is harmful. So scrolling through reels or shorts, when we repeatedly do, we become good at. So I've never been able to connect with this reels, engaging with reels. I find it too overloading. It causes headache. I might watch a reel shared by somebody or a YouTube short that is coming in my recommendation. Just that one or whatever is being shown in the boxes. But scrolling through reels or shorts is something that I have not been able to connect to at all. I find it overloading. But I see people getting so comfortable. Okay, if the scene changes, if the context changes, if the music changes, they are perfectly okay with it. So they have become proficient because they have repeatedly been practicing this. So we become proficient in whatever we repeatedly do. So that is what we need to be careful about, what we are repeatedly doing. So this is the fourth key takeaway for me. Fifth, again, this is the one of the perspective shifts. So here the author says, when we say my mind is a monkey mind, it keeps jumping from one topic to another. It keeps doing one thing and then jumps to another thing. The author says the mind does not move. What moves is our awareness. So he separates out awareness and mind. And he beautifully describes this with so many metaphors and stories which we can easily connect to. So he says that mind is a vast space and there are many areas. So you could have a happy area of the mind, sad area. It could be worry. It could be based on emotions. It could be based on people. Just think of mind as like a vast space with many of these areas bookmarked. Now, You are awareness. You are this glowing ball of light, and you can move freely within this mind. Whenever awareness goes to a particular area of the mind, it lightens that area of the mind, which means we become conscious of it. So, when we go to the happy area of the mind, we become conscious that we are happy. So, that is why he again connects to our Vedanta concept where we are not the mind, we are this pure awareness traveling through different areas of the mind. So, this distinction is very important. Now, whenever you are in any situation, you can think of yourself, okay, I am in the angry area of the mind. I am not angry, I am in the angry area of the mind. Now you can decide, okay, I don't want to be in the angry area of the mind. I am coming back to the happy area of the mind. So, this is a powerful perspective shift for all of us. So, you are lighting up a particular area in your mind. You can think of it like a plan of various rooms that are there in a house. So you travel from one room to the next room, and you are the awareness, and your mind represents the various areas of the room. So the mind is always stationary. It is only our awareness that is moving. So this distinction is something that we need to reflect upon and put it into practice, because once we have this aware knowledge that we are the awareness, then it completely changes our perspective. Then we feel more powerful when it comes to forces that are distracting us. So we have these different rooms in a house. So one room could be anger, jealousy, joy, worry, fear. So now this ball of awareness, it moves to these different rooms. So whenever awareness goes to a particular area of the mind, it is only aware of that area of the mind. It is not aware of the other areas. So that is why when we are very angry, we don't think about, okay, yesterday I was feeling so happy about this. That thought doesn't come because we are in that angry, agitated state of state of mind. So we are not aware of the other areas. And another important point is the longer awareness remains in a room, the more comfortable it becomes. It is something that we can easily relate to. So where we spend a lot of time in our house, that becomes a comfort zone for us. We like to spend more time there. So in our mind, the vast space of mind, where do we spend a lot of time? Where does the awareness invest a lot of time in? So that is something that we need to be careful about. So these emotions are temporary locations, and we are traveling. We are experiencing that area of the mind, but we are not that emotion by itself. So the author gives a lot of analogies. So one is he talks about while we are watching a movie. Let's say you have decided to go and watch a horror movie. Now your mind is already prepared. Okay, there is going to be a lot of scary scenes. You have now allowed your awareness to be carried to different areas of your mind by the director, by the story writer, by the music director. So now you are sitting and watching the scary movie. This movie director now takes your awareness, puts it in first uh, the fearful state, and then maybe there is a little bit of fun element that comes in the initial stages. So you go into the fun area of the mind. Then the director takes your awareness, puts it into a fear state of mind. So now you have given permission because you have chosen to go and watch this movie. You have given permission to the director to guide your awareness to different areas of the mind. But when we are in our regular day to day routine, many of the experiences that we come across are unapproved by us, unreviewed by us. And that is why there are, in a day, we feel so many unpredictable emotions. And here we just remain as awareness, we remain as a passive actor in an unscripted show, and our awareness is being taken everywhere. That puts such a heavy load on our nervous system. So, because now we are subjecting ourselves, we become vulnerable to all these external forces. When the environment decides where our awareness should move, we become a slave to external forces. And this unpredictability, this strains our nervous system. So, if we want to really experience freedom, we need to hold our awareness and we need to decide, okay, I am going to move it to peace state of mind, to happy state of mind. That is something that we need to have control upon. We should not allow any external force to just take it and put it. So when I was reading these particular chapters, the imagery that came to my mind, again, this is not in the book, but what I imagined was when we play a board game. So we move. So we roll the dice and we decide where we want to move. We have a coin which we move, right? Now, if somebody else decides, no, 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 you should not be here, you should be here. So somebody takes our coin and pulls it to another place, right? So we don't have control over that piece. Somebody else is moving our piece. So this is what is happening in real life. We have given the remote control to somebody else and they are moving our awareness to wherever they want. So today we talk about rage bait. Um, we see posts and videos that cause a lot of agitation and anger in us because that is what is um, projected through these various videos. And we succumb to those. We feel those emotions that are shown in those videos. So I will stop here. Please reconnect in 5 minutes and then we will continue from the next key takeaway.